Long before we had gods of light, we feared the creatures of darkness. Not the darkness itself, but what moved within it, what breathed, what watched, what waited. Every culture on Earth gave birth to monsters, not because they wanted to scare their children, but because they needed to name what couldn't be seen, to give form to the formless, to make the invisible confrontable. Tonight, we descend into the mythic underworld, not where gods rule with justice and order, but where creatures reign, born from something older, something deeper, something that doesn't care about balance or meaning. This is the mythology of chaos, the beasts that guard the threshold between what we know and what we fear to know. And if you stay until the end, you'll discover why we didn't create these monsters to fear them. We created them to understand ourselves. If you're ready to uncover the truth woven into every myth, subscribe. This is Beyond Mythology. The ancient Greeks had a word, chthonios. It means of the earth or of the underworld. Chthonic creatures weren't just dangerous, they were primal, born from the depths before order existed. Here's what most people misunderstand. The gods of death, Hades, Anubis, Hell, they ruled the underworld with structure. They were judges, keepers of cosmic law. Even in death, there was meaning. But the creatures beneath them, they answered to no one. They were hunger, instinct, chaos wearing teeth and claws. Even the gods feared them, not because they were powerful, but because they represented something the gods could never fully control, the abyss that existed before creation, the void that waits to reclaim it. Long before psychology had a name for it, ancient storytellers already understood the human darkness we try to hide. They gave it faces, fangs, and names, turning the invisible into something we could face. Monsters weren't born from fear alone. They were born from the need to understand it. Tonight, we're climbing down 3 circles of darkness, each one deeper than the last, from creatures that hunt our bodies, to creatures that devour our souls, to forces that threaten the very fabric of existence itself. Physical terror, spiritual corruption, existential dissolution. Let's begin the descent. The first circle, creatures that hunt. They move through moonless nights, through forests where no campfire reaches, through the corners of rooms where shadows pool too thick. They are predators, but not mindless ones. They hunt with purpose, with cruelty, sometimes with seduction. These are manifestations of desire twisted into hunger, instinct stripped of humanity. Let me introduce you to 2. In ancient Greece, young men were warned, never walk alone at night, especially near crossroads, because that's where Empusa waited. She was a spawn of Hecate, the goddess of thresholds and witchcraft, liminal spaces where one world bleeds into another, and Empusa embodied that bleeding perfectly. She appeared as a beautiful woman, irresistible, the kind of beauty that made you forget your name, your destination, your sense of danger. But if you looked down, really looked, you'd see the truth. One leg was bronze, the other belonged to a donkey. That's the gift of mythological symbolism. The Greeks didn't just say, she's a demon. They showed you, through her mismatched legs, that beneath the allure was something fundamentally wrong. Instinct poorly disguised, the predator wearing human skin. Empusa would seduce young men, take them to bed and drain their life force while they slept. Some versions say she drank their blood. Others say she fed on their vitality, leaving them hollow, wasting away. She's part of a broader archetype, the Lamia, the succubus, the femme fatale who isn't just dangerous but supernaturally parasitic. Desire as a trap, beauty that doesn't love, it consumes. The lesson? Not all monsters bear their fangs. Some smile first. Now Cerberus, the 3-headed hound of Hades, is more famous, but familiarity has dulled his edge, so let's sharpen it. Cerberus wasn't Hades' pet. He was a guardian, a force of nature bound to a single terrifying task: make sure the dead stay dead and the living don't trespass where they don't belong. 3 heads. Why 3? Some say it's past, present, and future. The hound sees all time, knows every soul that's past and every soul that will. Others say it's symbolic of totality. Nothing escapes his watch. No angle is blind. His mane wasn't fur, it was serpents. His saliva was venom. Even his breath was said to be toxic, a reminder that death's threshold is poisonous to the living. But here's the paradox. Cerberus wasn't evil. He was implacable, absolute. He represented a boundary that shouldn't be crossed, not because crossing it is immoral, but because some doors once opened can't be closed. He's the archetype of the monster at the gate, the thing that says, turn back or be destroyed. Not out of malice, but out of function. Even Heracles, the greatest hero of Greece, didn't kill Cerberus. He wrestled him into submission, borrowed him and returned him, because you don't defeat a boundary, you respect it. Some monsters don't hunt, they guard, and that might be even more terrifying. We descend deeper now. The second circle isn't about creatures that kill your body, it's about creatures that consume your essence, your soul, your humanity. These monsters don't just end life, they transform it, corrupt it, erase it from existence entirely. And sometimes they're born from us. In ancient Egypt, death wasn't the end, it was a trial. Your heart would be weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the principle of cosmic truth and balance. Anubis would oversee the ceremony. Thoth would record the result. And if your heart was heavier than the feather, burdened by lies, cruelty, selfishness, Ammit would be waiting. She was called the Devourer, part crocodile, part lion, part hippopotamus, a fusion of the three most feared predators along the Nile. She wasn't designed to terrify. She was designed to represent inevitability. Under the gaze of Anubis, she devours not the wicked but the unbalanced. And when Ammit ate your heart, that was it. No afterlife in the field of reeds, no reincarnation, not even punishment. Just nothing. You cease to exist in every realm, mortal and divine. This is where Ammit reveals something profound. Not all monsters are agents of evil. Some are agents of cosmic law, necessary darkness. She doesn't enjoy her role. She doesn't hunt. She simply is, the consequence of a life lived without balance, a truth too terrible for mercy. Ammit teaches us that justice at its most absolute wears the face of a monster. The Wendigo comes from the Algonquian peoples of North America, and it might be the most psychologically terrifying creature in this entire video. Because the Wendigo isn't something that hunts you, it's what you become. In the brutal winters of the northern forests, when food ran out and temperatures dropped to lethal extremes, the ultimate taboo was cannibalism, not just because it was morally repugnant, but because it transformed you. The myth says, if you consume human flesh even to survive, you awaken an insatiable hunger. Your body begins to change. You grow taller, gaunt, skeletal. Your eyes sink into black pits. Antlers sprout from your skull. Your heart turns to ice. And no matter how much you eat, you're never full. The more you consume, the more you grow, and the hungrier you become. The Wendigo is the beast born when the human soul is lost. It's a monster of transformation, and that's what makes it so potent. It's not about an external threat, it's about the fragility of our humanity, how close we are under the right conditions to becoming something unrecognizable. The symbolism extends beyond literal cannibalism. The Wendigo represents greed, consumption without gratitude, the emptiness that comes from taking and never being satisfied. In modern terms, it's the void of consumerism, the spiritual hunger that no purchase can fill. The Wendigo is a warning. You are not as far from the monster as you think. Now we reach the deepest circle. Here, the creatures don't threaten your body or your soul. They threaten reality itself, the structure of existence, the very possibility of meaning. These aren't monsters in the traditional sense. They're forces, embodiments of entropy, chaos, and the inevitable unraveling of all things. To face them is to confront a truth most mythologies can barely whisper, that creation is fragile and the void is patient. Every night in ancient Egypt, the sun god Ra descended into the underworld aboard his solar bark, traveling through 12 hours of darkness to rise again at dawn. And every night, Apep was waiting. Apep, also called Apophis, wasn't just a giant serpent. He was the embodiment of uncreation, the primordial chaos that existed before the gods shaped the universe. He wasn't evil in a moral sense. He was the absence of order, entropy given form. Even Ra, the supreme solar deity, couldn't destroy him. The best he could do was repel him, push him back, survive until morning, because Apep never dies. He can't. He's not a creature, he's a concept. The idea that everything structured, everything meaningful, could collapse back into formless void. The Egyptians understood something terrifying. Creation is not permanent. It has to be defended. Every single night. This is existential horror at its purest. Not the fear of death, but the fear that existence itself could simply stop making sense. You see echoes of Apep in other mythologies, Tiamat in Babylon, Typhon in Greece, primal chaos threatening to drown the cosmos. It's a universal terror that the universe is not as stable as it seems. Apep is the void that existed before creation and waits to reclaim it. In Norse mythology, the entire cosmos rests on Yggdrasil, the world tree. Its branches hold the heavens. Its trunk connects the realms of gods, humans, and the dead. Its roots reach deep into primordial wells of wisdom and fate. And at the deepest root, in the darkest part of the cosmos, a dragon gnaws. His name is Nidhogg. He doesn't attack gods. He doesn't terrorize villages. He doesn't hoard treasure or kidnap maidens. He does something far worse. He chews through the foundation of existence itself. Every moment, Nidhogg eats away at the roots of Yggdrasil, and every moment the tree weakens. The structure of reality becomes a little more fragile. This isn't villainy, it's nature. Decay is as fundamental as growth. Destruction is part of the cycle. But here's the difference between Nidhogg and Apep. Apep seeks total annihilation. Nidhogg is part of a larger pattern. Norse cosmology knew that Ragnarok, the end of all things, wasn't just destruction, it was renewal. The world dies so a new one can be born. Nidhogg gnaws not out of hunger but out of function. He is decay, and decay is sacred. Still, the thought remains chilling. What if the foundation you stand on is already being eaten away and there's nothing you can do to stop it? That's the terror Nidhogg represents, not sudden catastrophe. Slow, inevitable erosion. So let's step back and see what we've uncovered. In the first circle, we met predators. Empusa, who hunts through seduction, and Cerberus, who guards the ultimate boundary. Physical threats, instinct and desire twisted into monstrous form. In the second circle, we descended into devourers. Amit, who erases the unbalanced, and the Wendigo, the beast born from our own corruption. Spiritual threats. The fear of losing our essence, our humanity. In the third circle, we confronted Heralds of the Void, Apep, the serpent of uncreation, and Nidhogg, the dragon that gnaws at reality's roots. Existential threats. The terror that existence itself is temporary. Do you see the progression? From what we can fight, to what we can become, to what we cannot comprehend. Each tier strips away another layer of comfort, another illusion of control, until we're left facing the deepest mythological truth. Chaos is always closer than we think. But here's the revelation. The reason these myths exist at all. We didn't create monsters to fear them. We created them to name them. Think about it. When you're a child, the darkness is terrifying because it's unknown. Anything could be in there. But the moment you flip on the light and see it's just your room, same chair, same closet, same toys, the terror evaporates. Naming is a form of light. When ancient cultures carved these creatures into stories, gave them shapes, behaviors, weaknesses, they were doing something profound. They were taking the formless dread that lives in every human heart and giving it edges, boundaries, a face. And once you can see a monster's face, you can confront it. That's the paradox. By personifying terror, we made it smaller, manageable. We turned an infinite, crushing fear into a specific, fightable enemy. The gods represent order, our aspirations, our ideals, the structures we build to make sense of the world. The monsters represent chaos, our shadows, our fears, the parts of ourselves and reality we don't want to face. But both are necessary. We name gods to understand order. We name monsters to understand chaos. Both live within us. Darkness preserves these creatures not because they thrive there, but because we need them there. In every mythic beast, whether it hunts, devours, or erodes, a fragment of our soul still roars. Empusa teaches us that desire can be predatory. Cerberus shows us that some boundaries are sacred. Amit reminds us that justice doesn't always have mercy. The Wendigo warns us how fragile our humanity is. Apep confronts us with the impermanence of meaning. Nidhogg whispers that even the strongest foundations decay. Myths don't just speak of monsters, they speak of us, our fears, our limits, and the light we hide behind them. So here's the question I'll leave you with. What monsters guard your threshold, and what are they protecting you from or teaching you to become? Because the creatures of darkness aren't out there, lurking in ancient texts and forgotten ruins. They're in here, in the parts of yourself you haven't named yet. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the real mythology begins.